In a world where nations shake hands in front of cameras but clash in the shadows, today's story pulls back a curtain most people never even knew existed. Welcome back to Swift Tale, the place where hidden truths, forgotten histories, and untold betrayals finally come to light. And if you're visiting for the very first time, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because stories like this raise one question every viewer must ask: how much of what we see is real? And how much is quietly controlled? Today, we journey deep into the heart of Thailand, a country known for its stunning landscapes, its culture, its temples, and its serene beauty. But behind that beauty lies a web of political secrets, undercover agreements, and escalating border tensions that almost tore the region apart. This is a story of officials who made silent deals in back rooms, of whistleblowers who risked everything to reveal the truth, and of hidden military betrayals that pushed Thailand to the edge of a conflict no one was prepared for. It matters because the events you're about to hear didn't just threaten borders, they threatened lives, exposed corruption, and revealed just how fragile peace can be when power falls into the wrong hands. So settle in, because what we uncover today may change the way you see international politics forever. To understand how Thailand became the center of one of the most dangerous hidden betrayals in recent history, we must step back and look at the intricate layers of its political landscape. Layers shaped by decades of shifting loyalties, internal struggles, and the delicate balance between democracy and military influence. Thailand's government has long walked a tightrope, with power passing through the hands of elected leaders, military commanders, influential business families, and regional authorities with their own agendas. On the surface, the country presents stability, tourism thrives, the cities bustle with life, and the government speaks confidently about unity. But underneath, silent rivalries simmer, between political parties that distrust each other, between military factions that compete for dominance, and between local leaders who control territories like their own small kingdoms. As these groups fight for influence behind polished statements and public ceremonies, corruption grows roots deep within the system. Deals are made off the books. Promises are exchanged in whispered conversations. Tensions build slowly, unnoticed by the public, but impossible to ignore for those inside the system. It is in this complicated environment, where loyalty can shift overnight and power is never guaranteed, that the first seeds of betrayal were planted. Seeds that would eventually trigger a chain of events, leading to dangerous border clashes and the unraveling of secrets Thailand never intended the world to see. Behind the polished walls of Thailand's government buildings, far from the eyes of citizens and beyond the reach of journalists, quiet negotiations were taking place that would shape the nation's future in ways few could imagine. It began with subtle meetings at odd hours, officials slipping into private rooms under the guise of routine consultations. But these gatherings were anything but routine. High-ranking members of the political elite, influential business magnates, and select military officers were engaging in conversations that revolved around land rights, trade corridors, and resources found along the nation's most sensitive borders. The deals were not written into official documents or debated in parliament. They were arranged with whispered assurances and coded agreements. Money exchanged hands discreetly. Promises were made that benefited individuals rather than the nation. In their pursuit of power, these officials never considered the consequences their choices would unleash upon ordinary citizens living near the border. While the public carried on with daily life, unaware of the widening cracks beneath the surface, the betrayals deepened. Files went missing. Patrol assignments were altered without explanation. Supplies meant for border security were quietly rerouted. And for the handful of insiders who noticed the unusual shifts, it felt as if a storm was forming, one driven not by natural forces, but by human greed, ambition, and the dangerous secrecy that bound the conspirators together. The stage was being set, and soon those hidden deals would ignite a chain reaction no one could stop. As the secret deals grew bolder and the shifts within the system became harder to ignore, it was only a matter of time before someone inside stumbled upon the truth. It began quietly, an analyst stationed in a dimly lit government office noticing unusual patterns in transport logs. A border officer assigned to a remote checkpoint received orders that contradicted standard protocol. A clerk discovered missing documents from a classified cabinet that had always been tightly monitored. Each clue on its own seemed small, easily dismissed as clerical oversight or minor mistakes. But to a few sharp-eyed individuals, these inconsistencies formed a disturbing picture. One of them, a mid-level intelligence officer known for meticulous work, found encrypted messages buried deep within an internal communication system, messages referencing off-the-record exchanges, redirected funds, and foreign groups operating near Thailand's borders with suspicious freedom. As he dug deeper, he realized he had uncovered something far more dangerous than internal corruption, a betrayal involving powerful officials willing to risk national security for personal gain. Gathering evidence became a race against time. Hard drives began disappearing. Surveillance cameras experienced sudden malfunctions. Colleagues who once shared information grew silent and distant. The whistleblower knew that exposing the truth meant becoming a target. Still, he copied files, documented every irregularity, and hid the evidence in places no one would think to search. Fear shadowed him every day, but so did a growing sense of duty. He understood that if someone didn't speak up soon, the hidden deals would escalate into something far worse, something that could cost lives and destabilize the entire region. His courage marked the moment when Thailand's quiet betrayals began to unravel. While whispers of betrayal circulated through government halls, the first visible cracks appeared far from the capital, along Thailand's rugged border regions, where mountains, forests, and remote villages created a perfect cover for activities no one was supposed to notice. Border patrol officers, long accustomed to routine checks and familiar faces, began observing unusual movement near crossing points. Unmarked trucks passed during odd hours. Patrol maps, once clear and strategic, were suddenly adjusted without explanation, redirecting officers away from key areas. Some units found their supplies delayed for weeks, while others received shipments of equipment they had never requested. The locals sensed something was wrong too. Villagers reported hearing engines rumbling through the night, and farmers claimed they saw groups of armed men slipping through the tree line before dawn. Yet every time someone tried to report these sightings to regional officials, their concerns were dismissed or brushed aside. The tension became palpable, like a storm gathering beyond the horizon, its thunder rumbling just out of sight. Officers posted at the border felt abandoned, caught between confusing orders and the reality unfolding before their eyes. Loyalty, once unquestioned, began to waver as soldiers wondered who they were truly serving. Rumors spread that certain high-ranking commanders were deliberately weakening border defenses to allow foreign groups free passage. Still, without proof, no one dared speak openly. But one truth became increasingly clear. Whatever secret deals were being made in Bangkok were beginning to have very real consequences on the ground. The border was no longer secure, and everyone who lived or served there felt that something big, something dangerous, was fast approaching. The calm before the storm was slipping away, and soon the unraveling would give way to open conflict. The truth, once scattered across hidden files and whispered rumors, finally surged into the open with the force of a breaking storm. It began when the whistleblower's carefully guarded evidence reached the hands of a trusted journalist, one known for exposing corruption despite constant threats. Within hours, encrypted documents, intercepted communications, and secret financial transfers were laid out like a roadmap of treachery. The revelations were explosive. High-ranking officials had funneled military resources to foreign groups, redirected border forces to leave key areas exposed, and exchanged classified intelligence in return for massive personal profits. When the story broke, Thailand's political core trembled. The public was stunned, but inside military headquarters, the reaction was even more chaotic. Commanders argued behind closed doors, accusing each other of involvement while scrambling to distance themselves from the scandal. Border units, who had sensed something was wrong for months, now understood the terrible truth. They had been intentionally misled, left vulnerable, and manipulated by the very leaders sworn to protect the nation. Confusion swept across the chain of command. Some officers refused to carry out newly issued orders, unsure whether they came from loyal superiors or corrupt ones. Others demanded immediate investigations. Meanwhile, foreign groups operating along the border seized the opportunity created by the instability, pushing deeper into Thai territory. What had started as secret deals was now spiraling into open conflict. The betrayal wasn't just political anymore, it was endangering soldiers, civilians, and the fragile balance that held entire border communities together. Thailand stood at the edge of a crisis, and the world was finally witnessing the shadows that had been hidden for far too long. Tensions along Thailand's border had simmered for years, but when the first explosive clash erupted, it sent shockwaves far beyond Southeast Asia. In this section, we dive deep into the exact moment everything spiraled out of control, when a seemingly routine patrol turned into a battleground. Villagers fled amid smoke and gunfire, soldiers scrambled for cover, and rumors spread faster than official reports could contain them. But what truly stunned the world wasn't just the violence itself, it was how fast global powers reacted. Embassies issued emergency warnings, foreign media descended on the frontier, and international watchdogs demanded answers. Was this simply a border misunderstanding, or the opening act of a much larger geopolitical struggle? As we explore eyewitness accounts, leaked communications, and satellite evidence, this section reveals how a regional dispute suddenly transformed into a global diplomatic flashpoint, pulling Thailand into the spotlight and placing enormous pressure on those trying desperately to keep the conflict from exploding further. The turning point in Thailand's unfolding crisis didn't come from the battlefield. It came from a leak deep within the intelligence community. In this section, we uncover how a series of confidential documents, quietly passed to investigative reporters, exposed the secret negotiations, backdoor alliances, and covert military plans that had been hidden from the public for years. The leak revealed coded messages between high-ranking officials, alarming satellite surveillance data, and internal memos warning that the situation was spiraling far faster than anyone was admitting. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. What had been described as a minor dispute was now shown to be the result of months of political manipulation and strategic deception. The public erupted in outrage, international analysts demanded explanations, and Thailand's leadership found itself trapped between denial and damage control. This section explores the identity of the whistleblower, why they risked everything, and how one act of defiance shattered the government's long-maintained silence. As the intelligence leak spread across global networks, it didn't just expose the truth, it rewrote the entire story of the conflict, forcing the world to rethink what was really happening behind Thailand's guarded borders. As the truth spilled across international headlines, the world reacted with a mixture of shock, strategic concern, and political calculation. Neighboring countries, once silent observers, suddenly scrambled to distance themselves from the controversy, issuing carefully worded statements that revealed more fear than clarity. Global powers, especially those with financial investments, military partnerships, or regional influence, began to pressure Thailand for transparency, each nation trying to shape the narrative to align with its own interests. International organizations called emergency meetings, warning that the conflict could destabilize entire Southeast Asian trade routes and threaten delicate diplomatic balances. Meanwhile, foreign intelligence agencies quietly launched their own investigations, seeking to determine whether Thailand's hidden deals might trigger broader geopolitical consequences. The leaked documents ignited debates in parliaments, media outlets, and foreign ministries worldwide, turning the issue from a regional dispute into a global flashpoint. Within Thailand, leaders faced intense scrutiny, foreign ambassadors demanded answers, markets reacted with uncertainty, and the public watched as their governments struggled to manage the fallout on multiple fronts: political, military, economic, and diplomatic. This section traces the escalating international response and examines how global pressure forced Thailand into a corner, setting the stage for the dramatic conclusion that follows. As the dust settled on Thailand's hidden betrayals, the full scope of the crisis became clear. Secret deals, political corruption, and border mismanagement had pushed the nation to the brink, endangering civilians and destabilizing regional security. Yet amid the chaos, lessons emerged. Lessons about the fragility of trust, the consequences of unchecked power, and the courage required to expose the truth. Leaders were forced to answer for their actions, whistleblowers gained recognition for their bravery, and the public began demanding accountability at every level of governance. For viewers of Swift Tale, this story serves as a reminder that what we see in official statements is often only the surface. History, politics, and power struggles are layered with hidden narratives that affect real lives. The events in Thailand show that vigilance, transparency, and courage are essential in preventing small betrayals from spiraling into disasters. If this story opened your eyes, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dive investigations into untold events. Comment below with your thoughts. What surprised you most about Thailand's hidden deals? Your engagement keeps these stories alive and ensures the truth continues to reach more people. Stay informed, stay aware, and join us next time on Swift Tale, where secrets are unveiled and hidden stories finally come to light.